we seem to be in a science super cycle, right? There is so much going on, and you, of course, have AI as a broad wave which could accelerate science. But even without that, right? Cell therapy, gene therapy, we spoke about the GLP-1s. There is some outstanding science which could finally result in drugs that can solve various unmet medical needs around the annual, right? And hopefully that's going to only accelerate. Do you think any of these policies, right, have the impact of derailing that, what I'm calling probably an advent of a medical golden age, right?
Yes.
Could be coming.
Yeah. I think just like we had talked about earlier, Manish, that the president has figured out that he can move faster through executive authority than the rest of Congress and the rest of policymakers can. I think science is moving faster than the policymakers in Congress.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see science pushing the edge, bringing us to having to face new policy and reimbursement issues that we've not really seen before. And almost certainly it's going to cause some type of crisis from a policy and government point of view. What I think that we need to begin to do is anticipating these types of changes. And we need to think about public-private collaborations and partnerships in advance. So when we talk about some of these cellular and genetic therapies that frankly may be single-dose therapies, but change the complete course of a child's life from being one that's dependent upon full need to being able to be a productive member of society.
Correct.
We have to think about different ways of paying for that. And so we need to think about either reinsurance programs, we need to think about mandated coverage programs with some type of public support that begins to start spreading out the cost of these over multiple decades. And there certainly needs to be risk pooling models, but to put all of those costs on single employers, that the U.S., of course, is largely an employer-based commercial healthcare system,
Correct.
or putting all of the costs even on specific individuals that buy individual insurance, that just isn't going to make sense. I mean, these are very expensive technologies, but they're coming and they're needed and they add value to society. We just need to catch up on how we fund them and how we pay for them.
Sure. So is it fair to say a few of the things which you're going to suggest to pharma execs is, one is come to the negotiating table, do what is right to balance, of course, your own interest, but more importantly, access to all these medicines, affordability, right? That's one. The second thing you spoke about, bringing all these things together, right? Access, pricing, reimbursement. You can't look at these in silos. Think about these holistically. Outside of that, would you also think over time drug prices internationally are going to start going up, especially new innovation?
Yeah,
Or access really.
One of the things that, we do live in a global world and a global economy, and one of the issues that came out of these meetings with AstraZeneca and Pfizer and the administration was a commitment from the pharmaceutical executives that they would begin to honor most favored nation pricing with new drug launches.
Yeah.
To me, that's a big concern for the international community, because if the United States is where many of these profits come, it just says to me that they're either going to launch here first or launch internationally at higher prices. And so to isolate the American system from the rest of the world, I think is very concerning. It's not how the global economy works. And I do think that there's some concerns that this is going to translate to higher prices for newer medications on the international community.
Is it a way to mitigate that risk?
Yeah. It's not a simple mitigation, but clearly I think if there was international sharing of research and development costs and there was more international pricing coordination, I think you could begin to start mitigating the risk. And I think actually the president would like to see that. But, this issue of separating pricing from all the other issues, that's where this begins to start falling apart. And so I think that this is a very complex chess game that a pharmaceutical executive with a multinational set of markets needs to begin to start thinking about. And every time the government comes up with a set of rules, there are smart people who get around the rules. I think that what I hope is that we don't have a piecemeal system of pricing and launching and everything's to maximize profitability, but we start thinking about pharmaceutical pricing in a different way.
Sure.
And that if you start moving towards value-based pricing, I think you can get away from some of this gamemanship.
Excellent. David, let me shift to something which I know is equally or probably more close to your heart, innovation. And so for all of us at Indegene,
Yes.
I know you speak and on your blog talk about some of the most exciting medical devices, right? So tell us about some of the 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to pick, innovation which you were most excited about. I've gone through all of them, but
I have to tell you, you've already sort of described the environment.
yeah.
What an amazing time to be part of the healthcare ecosystem, because there are so many fascinating things going on that you can't keep up with it. Almost every day, I think we're seeing healthcare completely change. This issue of data interoperability, which we've talked about the challenges for decades, I think it's now here.
Yeah.
And the ability to be able to move data, to be able to have patients control their data, to have clinicians have access to it, I think that's certainly there. And I think the ability to tap into the increasing scientific knowledge with, the large language models that are being built, I think all of this is incredible. Sometimes I get excited by simple things like devices
Okay.
and things that I see. So one company that I've just gotten involved with, for some reason seems particularly exciting. And what they do is they make a belt that you wear around your hip that when an older person begins to fall, it actually can sense that and it deploys an airbag so that when they fall, they actually just bounce off of the floor rather than breaking their hip. And if you know many, many older people, we have
tough one, yeah.
yeah, we have over 400,000 hip fractures in the United States each year. And many of them, those people really never regain full functionality. And unfortunately, many of them die as a result of that type of fall or complication. And so just even little simple things that we're seeing come onto the market right now are pretty exciting.
Interesting. I'm going to ask you one more question. You spoke about a device for older people. I also saw, while one of the laws being spoken about these days a lot is the Ferguson law, right, in economics. But I saw a Shulkin law, if you want to call it, about the cradle to grave ratio. Tell us more about that. What does it mean for overall healthcare in general?
Yeah. Well, I laugh a little bit because I created this new ratio, somewhat in jest, but it has a serious point behind it. And what I was looking at is the ratio of baby diapers, which is essentially equivalent to new births, versus adult diapers, which is equivalent to people who are aging and requiring additional assistance. And of course, what's happening all over the world is that we're seeing declining birth rates and people living longer. And so in the United States, and you can track this by country actually, we sell more baby diapers than we sell adult diapers. But in 2034, that crosses. We're going to be selling more adult diapers than baby diapers. And so you can actually follow this ratio to begin to start predicting the healthcare expenses and the healthcare needs of a society that's getting older, that's going to have to take care of a lot more older people. And look, I hope that ratio, that there are ways that we can keep older people healthier, that we can address the issue of incontinence, that we can keep people independent more. But right now, it looks like 2034 is that date for the United States. Japan will reach that date before the United States. So
Japan has still not reached that.
It's very close.
Okay.
It's very close to having more adult diapers than baby diapers. Yes.
Wow. That is super interesting. And that means that this industry, which at least we as Indegene operate in, is going to have to play a much larger role, right? In making sure this broader industry continues to deliver for this population, which will need more medicines, right?
Absolutely. And, a whole new category of longevity medicine.
Yeah.
As people are looking, how do we use this new science, the new technologies to live not only longer, but healthier and more functional lives? There's going to be huge demand for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. David, I could go on and on. This is so much fun and so enlightening to always talk to you, but I know you have to go and get somewhere else. Thank you so much for this. I'm sure this will be super useful. It was extremely helpful for me. I'm sure whoever is listening to this video or talk will get a much better sense of what's really going on.
Great.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great.